The moment the door shut behind me, the sound was not loud, not dramatic, yet it landed in my chest like a warning bell I could not silence. Sunlight still poured through the living room windows, dust floating gently in the air, everything looking normal and safe, yet something inside me shifted. I had walked in smiling, holding a small gift, believing this was just another polite step in a growing relationship. I had no idea that a single, quiet click of a lock would open memories I had spent years trying to bury. Before we go deeper into this story, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of human compassion, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Touch. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are still healing. That morning had begun like any other hopeful day. The sky was clear, the air warm, the kind of daylight that makes everything feel possible. I remember standing in front of the mirror, adjusting my scarf, practicing calm expressions, reminding myself that meeting a partner's mother was a milestone, not a trial. Ayan had been gentle and patient from the beginning, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke, who remembered small details about my life without ever making me feel examined. When he suggested I meet his mother, it felt like an honor. He spoke of her with respect and distance at the same time, as if she were a strong presence shaped by years of sacrifice and disappointment. Her house stood on a quiet street, painted a soft cream color, surrounded by flowering plants that looked carefully tended. Daylight spilled across the front steps, and birds hopped along the low wall, unaware of the nervous storm inside me. She opened the door with a composed smile, her hair neatly tied back, her eyes observant but not unkind. The house smelled faintly of tea and clean floors. Everything felt orderly, intentional, controlled. When Ayan stepped away to take a call outside, she gestured for me to come in, and that was when the door closed behind me, gently but firmly separating me from the outside world. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. Homes have doors. Doors close. There was nothing threatening about it. She invited me to sit, and I did, perching on the edge of the sofa, my hands folded tightly in my lap. Sunlight streamed in through large windows, illuminating framed photographs on the walls. I noticed faces frozen in time, smiles that did not quite reach the eyes, moments of happiness preserved but somehow distant. She moved slowly, deliberately, placing cups on the table, her movements calm but heavy with unspoken thoughts. Then she looked at me in a way that felt less like curiosity and more like measurement, not of my clothes or manners, but of my strength, my past, my worth. She asked about my family, my work, my dreams, her questions flowing without pause. I answered honestly, carefully, feeling as though every word carried weight. As the minutes passed, her voice softened, and the questions shifted. She spoke of loss, of raising a son alone, of trusting the wrong people in the past. Without realizing it, I found myself listening more than speaking, absorbing her story as if it were a lesson she needed me to learn. Something inside me began to understand. This meeting was never about approval, it was about fear. She had built walls around her heart, and now she was testing whether I would respect them or try to climb over. The closed door was not a trap, but a boundary. Still, the memories it stirred were real. I had grown up in a house where closed doors meant raised voices and long silences. My body remembered before my mind could reason, and I struggled to keep my breathing steady. She told me about Ayan as a child, about his quiet resilience, his habit of carrying other people's burdens without complaint. She spoke of how the world had disappointed him, how love had left scars she could not heal for him. As she talked, her voice trembled, just slightly, enough to reveal the weight she carried. In that moment, I saw not a gatekeeper, but a woman exhausted by years of protecting the one person she loved most. I realized then that my challenge was not to impress her, but to remain open when every instinct told me to retreat. I spoke of my own struggles, of rebuilding myself after loss, of learning that strength does not always look loud or fearless. I did not dress my story in bravery. I let it be fragile. The room grew quieter, filled only with the hum of the ceiling fan and the distant sounds of life outside, reminding us that the world was still moving. Her posture softened. The lines on her face eased. She listened without interrupting, her gaze steady and searching. The closed door no longer felt like a threat, but like a shared space, a pause from the outside where truth could exist without performance. I could feel something shifting, not dramatically but gently, like ice beginning to melt under steady sunlight. When I unreturned, he looked between us, sensing the change in the room. The tension had not disappeared, but it had transformed. His mother stood and walked to the window, opening the curtains wider, letting more daylight flood the space. The house seemed brighter then, as if responding to her decision to let light in, literally and emotionally. She did not say much, but her silence felt different, less guarded. The rest of the afternoon passed quietly. We shared a simple meal, the kind that fills you without demanding attention. I noticed small gestures, the way she refilled my cup without asking, the way she watched me listen to her son. These were not grand signs of acceptance, but they were real. They were human. When it was time to leave, she walked me to the door. The same door that had unsettled me earlier now stood open, sunlight spilling across the threshold. She met my eyes and nodded. A small acknowledgement that carried more meaning than words. As I stepped outside, the air felt lighter, as though I had been holding my breath all day without realizing it. On the walk home, I understood something important. Kindness does not always arrive wrapped in warmth. Sometimes it comes as caution, as tests we do not expect, as closed doors that ask us to be patient instead of defensive. I had walked in hoping to be liked. I walked out understanding the deeper responsibility of loving someone whose past had shaped their fears. In the days that followed, our relationship grew steadier. There were no dramatic changes, no sudden declarations, but there was trust slowly forming, built on the knowledge that we could sit with discomfort without turning away. His mother began to call occasionally, asking about my work, offering advice, sometimes simply listening. Each conversation felt like another window opening. This story is not about a villain or a victory. It is about the quiet courage it takes to stay present when old wounds are touched. It is about choosing empathy over assumption, patience over pride. That closed door taught me that healing often begins in spaces that make us uneasy, in moments where we must decide whether to run or remain. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you are still trying to understand or forgive, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who might need hope, and subscribe to Kindness Touch. Your engagement keeps these stories alive and reaching those who feel alone in their struggles. And before we end, a special request from the heart. Please comment below with one word that this story made you feel, because your words may help someone else feel seen. As I look back, I am grateful for that quiet click of a door closing behind me. It did not lock me in. It invited me to step forward with compassion instead of fear. And sometimes, that is how real connection begins. Not with open arms, but with the courage to stay when the door closes and trust that light will find its way in.